I'm scared. I just made by far the biggest investment of my life.
How does somebody say that they could be successful if they're only doing 8-hour days?
I always kind of grew up knowing that my family didn't really have money.
And right now what's happening in California, you guys, because of the fires.
You can't quit if you don't lose. Like,
they will never let it fail.
I was really ashamed when I got hurt. I felt like my pride was gone. Like, oh, man.
Yeah, that's got to be tough.
And then once I started making my first 6 figures, my first multiple 6 figures, I realized I was like, hey, this doesn't make you happy. Like, I just want to be happy.
Hey guys, it's Jason Emer. I'm super excited to be doing our podcast today. We're outside in the patio, beautiful sunny California, and we're going to be talking to major entrepreneurs, like people that I've seen hitting it hard on Instagram, in the community, and really working hard to like showcase how successful they can be. You guys know myself, I have multiple businesses. I am a very successful doctor, but have been an entrepreneur for years. It's now going to be coming out in this podcast of some of the businesses that I've invested in over the years and their success. And today I have David Barta, who's an amazing celebrity personal trainer here. I would say like fitness coach, inspiration for how your body should look, but also how your mind should be if you're trying to get fit, look athletic, and want to just overall have longevity and be healthy. We're bringing him in today because I want to talk about one of his newest entrepreneurial items that he's had on his list for a while. He's now an owner of one of the biggest gyms here in California. We're going to talk about that. And also just like in general, we're interviewing people that inspire others, people that like work hard, they're constantly showing their dedication to their professions and to just building a better community. And that's why we are doing this podcast. I'm excited about it because I feel like I've done that myself in our industry in aesthetics, really taking aesthetics from the past 10 to 15 years to a whole nother level with digital marketing. And now it's expanded to everyone being able to do that. So David, I'm really excited to have you here. We're on my patio. I thought it was like going to be nice because if you look at most of these podcasts, like in a studio and it's not that comfortable. I actually said we're probably going to have to do another one in the gym so we could show off the gym, but tell everybody a little bit like who you are, your Instagram and what you do. And then we'll go into like why I felt it would be great to have you on the show.
Sure. Thank you for having me. So I've been a personal trainer for about 7.5 years now. I started at 24 Hour Fitness in Santa Monica, California, about the time that I started that. And my mom came to me right after my college baseball career ended. I had 2 Tommy John surgeries on my left elbow. Mom came to me and she said, your father lost his job. You have to start making more money somehow. You know, I'm fresh. I'm still in college. I'm fresh out of baseball being done. The only things I know how to do are go to school, play baseball, and lift weights. Can't make money just sitting in class. Baseball's done. So the only thing I know how to do is lift weights. I got a job at a gym in Burbank originally, transferred over to Santa Monica, and just started training from there after 3 months.
So I have a question. So you had to leave college or you did this during college?
I did this during college. Yeah, it was after my sophomore year. When I got hurt.
Because I had a very similar experience, actually. I went to college, and I actually was kind of from a well-to-do family who I thought was going to be able to pay my way through college. And when I got to college after my first year, I found out that actually that wasn't the case. My family went a little bit more in debt, and that I owed the college a bunch of money because my parents weren't able to pay it.
Wow.
And I thought that I had school covered. So really quickly I had to take on other jobs. All I knew really was education. I didn't even have sports. So I actually became a TA and got college covered, but to have extra money, I also became a personal trainer in college.
Oh, wow.
Which is why I got into fitness. So I'm curious. So then you had to go now start working at this gym and to make money for your family.
Right.
But what then got you into like really taking care of yourself, and how did it motivate you to become the person you are now?
Right. So I always kind of grew up knowing that my family didn't really have money, and I understood that, and I respected my parents. My mom, my dad did a phenomenal job of raising my sister and I, keeping a roof over our heads and always having food on the table. And, I have nothing but great things to say about them. But I kind of was raised with kind of lower expectations for my life, whether that was, my interpretation of seeing my mom and dad or some comments that my mom made, just kind of like, oh, this is how life is. But I always wondered and kind of always wanted to know if there was more beyond that for myself. Like I said, when baseball was done, the only thing I knew how to do were one of 3 things. And And I thought, like, if I feel, honestly, I was really ashamed when I got hurt. I felt like my pride was gone. Like, I was a 20-year-old man.
Yeah,
and
that's got to be tough.
yeah, I was a 20-year-old man. I was like, I can't even throw a small white little ball. Like, how masculine and confident and like big can I feel in that moment? So I thought, if I, build up a strong body around myself, like hopefully that'll help like heal my mind.
And I think that's one thing that fitness does for people. I always say that I believe the biggest entrepreneurs are the ones that actually are really into taking care of their bodies, because it requires a significant amount of dedication, sacrifice, and long-term commitment to actually build, keep yourself in good shape and also give you that internal health. What time do you go to the gym in the morning?
If I'm not working out with a client, I'll work out myself at, either 5 or 6 a.m. or 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
See, that's my whole point.
Yeah.
So let's say you are training a client at 5 or 6 in the morning, you can't do it. Then you're also working out for yourself at 5, 8 at night. That is a 13-hour day that we're talking about right there.
Right.
So how many people do you see say, right when a 7 or 8 hour day hits, they're done with work, they're done with the day, that's it?
Oh, for sure. I think I was even thinking about that today on the way driving here. I was like, I started my day at 4:30 this morning. So I was like, if I was only working 8 hours, I'd be done at 12 o'clock. I'm like, my day's not even.
I don't even know how much someone can accomplish in 8 hours. Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm like, how does somebody say that they could be successful if they're only doing 8 hour days? I mean, I know super high, business professionals and entrepreneurs that are millionaires and billionaires, and you'd think they have it easy because a lot of things are run for them, but they're still working 12 to 15 hours as they're always hustling for their business to continue to succeed. And so is that what you think happened for you when you started the training?
That I started working longer days?
Yeah, I mean, that you started really putting in like a lot of effort, a lot more commitment to the actual training like you were doing in baseball. Now you went to do this in fitness training, not only because you had to make money for your family, but also because you wanted to build that self-confidence and see what you could accomplish.
Yeah, definitely. And I've always been a very compulsive, is that the right, did I say that right?
Could be, as a person.
I've always been a very compulsive person, like growing up with baseball. I always had in the back of my mind, like I started getting nationally ranked when I was a sophomore in high school. So I started seeing like the actual statistics of, oh, this kid from Oklahoma is ranked one higher than I am. What is he doing that I'm not? So it kind of got me into the mindset of like, I was like, if I'm not out there putting extra reps in, someone else probably is, whether he's around my circle, whether I'm going to face him right now or in 5 or 10 years in the major league. So,
this is what I talk about a lot on my just sort of daily Instagrams, is we're in an age now post-COVID where so many people want things very easy. They think that because they see people saying you can make all this money by just doing like an OnlyFans or just like selling things through an Amazon distribution type of thing, you can make tons of money. You don't need to work for somebody. You don't need to put in long hours, because just a couple hours a day you can make millions. That is not true. Like, as much as you guys might want that to be true, it's few and far between. And so many people nowadays, I think from 2020 on, do not have the mindset of what you just said, which was, if you saw somebody being a little bit better than you or succeeding more than you, you didn't get jealous of them. You didn't get upset at yourself. You said, I need to figure out what they're doing and do it better, and figure out another way. And that's how I've always succeeded myself. Was I always either bought something I didn't think I could afford at that time, or always looked at a much higher level than what I was already achieving, and said, I'm going to get that no matter what it takes. I'm going to make the effort to do it. For sure. And so that, I think, is the people that are successful, because the ones that, are jealous of other people or aren't willing to put in the time, they're the ones that realize like you just can't achieve your goals. It's impossible. But there's somebody that will. There's somebody that will put in that time and that
Absolutely.
effort.
Yeah, and it's kind of even like you're talking about long days. It's like, there's clientele who want to work out at 5 in the morning. There's also clientele who can only, based on their schedule, work out at 8 p.m. at night. And it's like, the people who come in and want to do, or other trainers who want to do 4 or 5 sessions a day, they're like, oh, why aren't I making the money that some other people are doing? Not even myself, but other people who do very well too. It's like, you're not willing to do it. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
One thing I think being compulsive or overworking almost kind of runs in my family from from my dad, from my mom's dad. I never met him, but I heard he was a very compulsive person, worked a lot of long, hard days and overworked himself and got himself sick a lot. So I'd like to think that sort of positive disease made its way into my brain.
Overworking in the gym is a little bit different. It's almost impossible to overwork fitness to kill yourself. I don't think it's almost impossible.
Not that, but I mean, in terms of like the actual business side. Yeah.
Right, but that's what I mean. That's good though that you have that drive, because that, I think, your drive is leading you to healthiness. It's actually leading to be both financially more successful and to also be healthier.
Oh yeah.
And so when you were starting out and sort of like building up, how did you get into making this as a career?
So really when it became a full-time effort for me was 2020 over COVID. It kind of got to a point. I had just finished college. I finished in December of 2019. And at the time I was doing some modeling and commercials, and that kind of slowed down. I was getting casted to go on a certain show, which got completely shut down at the time. So I was like, okay, once again, kind of same thing. When I came off of baseball, I was like, what's something I'm good at that I can make money at? And that's training. I was like, okay, I've been doing this for 2 years at this point. So I moved back to Burbank in my hometown, moved to a studio. I had a garage in it, and I kind of quickly put in the conversation with the landlord. I was like, hey, would you mind if I put some weights in here? So I ended up building my own little garage gym
private
over
studio.
COVID. I called it the Dave Cave, and that's when I really started
That's good.
investing.
That could be your podcast.
Yeah, the
honestly,
Dave Cave.
that's not a bad podcast name.
That sounds good to me.
Should.
That's when I started doing it full time. And right before then, I met a friend of mine who's now a mentor. He was almost a business partner. But he really started encouraging me to study like the science behind training, not just being a meathead about it, but understanding why the body works in a certain type of way, understanding like the metrics and the numbers behind programming, which is
that's how you get the results.
My success. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a million different ways you can frame a program or coach a program from my end. Like I can explain it, up and down, sideways, backwards. Also, someone can come in and just say, do this, do this, do this. And it can end up with the exact same results, which is kind of one thing I really like about it. There's a million different ways to approach it, but at the end of the day, it is very black and white, and it's either doing it or not, and it's going to yield virtually the same exact result.
Yeah, the great thing about what you do and what I do is if people aren't following it, because they will not see results.
Yeah.
So I'll have clients that come to me that, they'll say, oh, that laser didn't work or something like that, like 2 months or 3 months after the laser. And I said to them, well, did you use the skincare? And they still have it. And I'm like, I use my skincare in 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
The amount that you bought would have been done by now. Like you obviously didn't continue. Not only that, so you're not going to see the results if you don't follow the full plan.
Right.
So when you put together a program for people, how do you hold them accountable?
Most of the people I work with, I'm seeing 3 to 5 times a week, which is a blessing that I can work with that level of clientele who can afford it and vice versa. But really just seeing them in person, which is why I've so heavily pursued in-person training so far. I'm launching an app at the end of next month, but kind of my biggest holdup has always been, the lack of, what we're doing right now, face-to-face interaction, building a relationship with them.
Very important.
Getting to understand them. I studied psychology in school. Honestly, doesn't really help with anything. A lot of people are like, oh, like psychology is good because you're a trainer and you talk to a lot of people. I'm good at talking to people because I've done it for 10 plus hours a day for the past 5 years in a row.
It's all about experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just began to develop that relationship with them and, eventually be in a position where I can empathize with them and understand them and know how to approach some people. Some guys I can just go straight for and I'm like, hey, you look bad. Other people, that's going to make it the worst day of their life and they're never going to want to hand you money
ever again. You have to be careful.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because a lot of people are very self-conscious about certain things.
Absolutely.
And so it's important to kind of be able to develop a relationship with them where eventually you can say those types of things.
Yeah.
So I'm curious now is, during COVID you set up the cave and you started to become successful. How did you use social media or what did you do to start getting that clientele that you just described about?
Yeah, like you said, first step for myself, for any business owner, someone trying to expand, is I invested in myself. I made sure that my body looked the right type of way. I really made sure that I was, practicing what I preach. I was working out 3 to 5 times a week, more 5, 6, following a pretty specific meal plan for myself. And then what I really started doing and when I really started making money using social media, aside of brand deals, which is what I did before COVID, was posting myself in sessions, posting stuff that, wasn't necessarily just thirst trap stuff, which is what I posted all before then when I was in college, but more things that were substantial and helpful and valuable to people. I feel like the term valuable content gets thrown around a lot, and that looks different for every person. So it was more so when I started posting that, or when I started picking up more business using social media and good referrals from building positive, solid relationship with people, that's when my business really started taking off. Or even posting, like, I was 22 at the time, like, oh, this is session, not showing off for myself, but showing people what I'm doing. Not like, oh, look at me, but oh, look what we can do together. So go session number 9 of the day, session number 10 of the day. I remember when I hit my first 10 session day, like, I thought I'd made it. I was like, I done it.
Now, was there negativity towards that for you, or no?
Very far.
Or were people like really excited for you?
It was very, very far and few between. Definitely going into it, I never want to be a person who's like, oh, look at me, like, look what I can do. But no, it wasn't really until I started buying the cars that I have now, or like getting on like the level of success that I'm at right now, when people started pushing negativity towards it, or responding like, oh, just because all this and that.
Yeah,
and
to me, I feel like people who show some of the things they have from their success, others should really look at them as inspiration, or admiration, not as much of like jealousy. Yeah. But unfortunately, with social now, there is really taking a downfall, in my opinion, because people are hiding behind profiles, and they're just kind of feeling that they have the right to say whatever they want at any time, because it's social media. And even now, I mean, I got some DMs today telling me about, because I know a lot of realtors and very successful ones. And right now what's happening in California, you guys, because of the fires, is a huge surge of buying houses and leasing right now.
Right.
There's like over 1,200 people looking for leases right now in the past couple of days. And friends of mine did like 15 leases. And what happened was, these leases were, let's say, $1,000 a month to rent. But then 5 people wanted it, so someone said, I'll pay $1,000, I'll pay $2,000, I'll pay $3,000. The $1,000 then became $10,000.
Yeah.
And the person that paid $10,000 got it, even though it's way overvalued. So people are like, they're just stealing from people, and it's not. It's supply and demand. It's business.
Right.
So it's not actually that. I feel like so there's a lot that's going on now with social, where people are just saying things about that, even when, if you were in that situation, you'd pay whatever to help your family.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the realtors. They're blaming realtors when it's actually supply and demand, because there's a situation that's occurring,
Right.
So in your case, like, for example, you could charge hundreds of dollars a session, and people go, oh, that's overpriced. I can get this trainer for way cheaper, What do you say to stuff like that?
Please do. Enjoy.
Explain that to me a little bit, because why do you feel that somebody who really is dedicated to their craft, has perfected it, has become really good, should be able to charge whatever it is that they want?
Right. And like you're kind of saying, it's market price or supply and demand. I know how good I am. I think I'm a humble person. I'm also very confident, and I understand the black and white facts of the matter. I understand what a first-year trainer looks like versus a 7-year trainer looks like, and they're training, anywhere from 60 to 80 sessions a week. Like, I understand what my experience level is. I understand what my value is. Like, not only from understanding myself and being realistic with myself, and with the feedback of my mentors and other people that I work around, as well as the clientele that I have now. It's kind of like, trying to think. If you pull up to the Ferrari dealership and someone's like, I can go get a Honda for this, what are they going to say? Like, go.
Exactly.
Like, please do.
I always tell people, if you look at luxury brands, Hermes, Chanel, Goyard, they do not discount. They never do. And people who go in there know what those things cost.
Absolutely.
And if they went in and they asked for a discount, they'll laugh at them, because they know that's what the cost is. So I always tell people that you never should discount your services. Adding value is a totally different scenario. If you have somebody that's super dedicated, they want to, let's say, work out 4 or 5 days a week, but they can only charge maybe afford 3 or 4, then maybe you throw in a few extra sessions, because they're so dedicated to it, and that over time they'll be able to afford much more.
Yeah.
And that type of thing. Or, if they're a loyal client and they refer people to you, You can build your business by giving them some sessions when someone refers someone to them.
Absolutely.
Those things are like added value. That's somebody supporting you and what you do in your business. And those things I think are okay. But I think the second you start negotiating and dropping the rates significantly, there's a few things that occur. One, people then feel that you're not as valuable as you truly said you were.
Right. Yeah.
And then the other is you tend to get people to have people then that think that they can continuously do that and then don't have to support you for what you're truly valuable. So what I mean by that, they'll refer people to you that are going to expect the same thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go.
Yeah, I always like to with some of the or now being an owner at the gym, I get a lot of some of the younger trainers or other kind of people ask me advice like, oh, how did you build up to be able to do that? Or they'll talk to me about their consultations, or I'll help some of the newer trainers to the gym with their lead conversion into clientele.
So when you're trying to help them, I'm sure, in like lead conversion and their new clientele and how you started, I think because when I started, I did this way. You start at a competitive rate. Like when you're first starting, you should price yourself high, but not significantly higher than everybody around you.
Right.
And as you build more clients, then you continue to increase.
Right.
And you slowly increase, and then you look back years later and you're like double or triple the amount. Or at some point you have too many people, and either bring someone else into your business or you limit the people that you see at the higher amount. But you shouldn't devalue what experience level you have. Now, if you're first starting out, in my opinion, I remember when I first started here, one of the things that people said to me was do free consults. That's in my industry. And I said, I'm not going to do that, because people that are looking around maybe haven't researched you enough, maybe aren't dedicated enough to actually do the treatment. Maybe they can't even afford to do it. They just want information. And I can't waste the time that I've spent in the years that I've worked to get to this. So I said, at least if it's something and it goes towards the treatment, then people will, the ones that actually want to do treatment, that can afford something, will actually do it. So it started out at $50. My consultation fee right now is between $500 and $1,000, depending on what it is. But it goes towards the treatment. And so even now, when people call in or a center and say, it's crazy, all these other doctors don't charge this and that. And they said, well, then you're not understanding the value, because the value is, it's not actually a charge. It goes towards the treatment, and you're paying for the time and the expertise.
Right.
And so, like, for example, in your industry, do people charge consultations, or do they give free things? What do they do?
I think everyone runs their business a little differently. I don't want to say there's a lot of competition, but there is a big influx. There's a lot of trainers. If you look up, if there's a list of all personal trainers in Los Angeles.
I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. Keep going.
There's got to be hundreds or thousands of them.
Same thing for dermatologists and plastic surgeons.
Yeah, and I'm sure
especially in Beverly Hills.
Oh,
it's crazy.
And like in my industry, like 90% of the people within those hundreds or thousands or whoever, like, are either underqualified or, not as valuable of a trainer as, some of the people that I work around, or myself or my mentor. Everyone's trying to compete with each other kind of like on the lower end. And I don't even want to like play around with that. Honestly, I don't even know what a lot of other trainers do. I know
this actually goes to show that we're very similar in that way, because in my industry right now, there's a significant number of people wanting to get in aesthetics. And in California and other states, a nurse that just does 2 years of school can actually go and start injecting Botox and fillers and doing lasers. Wow. And you might not know, because let's say there's some good pictures online of that person. Maybe they've manipulated them. Maybe there's a filter on them. With nowadays, it could be AI. You don't even know, right? Versus me that did 16 years of school and did fellowship training, which requires anatomy and licensing and testing and actually doing surgeries and stuff, to be able to do treatments that have safety levels and understanding and things like that. So people wouldn't even know, but there's an influx of that occurring now. Yeah. Nurses that work maybe, let's say, or a doctor that's in emergency medicine a couple days a week in the ER, and now has just decided to do Botox on the side.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know because he's a doctor. So you would think that they're experienced. So how would somebody know, that you have that expertise level, that you're like at a different caliber when it comes to like understanding nutrition, understanding functional movement and exercise. And like, obviously besides how you look,
Yeah.
because you're practicing that, but how would they know if there's all this competition around?
Yeah, definitely. That's a phenomenal question. I'm trying to think of an
I mean,
answer,
you don't have to have the answer. I'm just saying I think nowadays it's challenging because the only way to actually prove that is to show the results,
Yeah.
have your clients talk about it, and you talk about that. And some people may see that as egotistical. Some people, and they may say that's self-promoting. Like even now, I had someone yesterday saying, you need to stop self-promoting right now while the fires are going on or whatever. And then I had patients of mine that wrote back to them without me even saying anything at that point.
Right.
Because you have to constantly be explaining to people why you're the best, why you're successful.
Right.
That doesn't mean you're arrogant. That doesn't mean that you're only self-promoting, but it's a competitive, it's competition nowadays.
Yeah.
And you have to prove to other people that you can be better for them than someone else. So how do you do that?
Honestly, I think I've always taken the approach of quiet confidence. Like if I'm posting everywhere, or even if my Instagram, my Instagram bio said like, oh, best trainer or like #1 transformation coach in LA. Do I believe that? Absolutely. I also think every personal trainer should believe that they are the best, so they can hold themselves with the confidence.
Yeah, I agree.
I think one way that, or really the biggest way that I display my value, my experience, and what I can bring to other people is that quiet confidence. On my social media, you can look up and down it. There's all the value there. There's all the content of me speaking about the things that I've studied, the books that I've read, the clients I've trained. Like last year in 2024, I had easily over 10 significant before and after pictures. That speaks for itself.
For yourself or of clients?
Of clients.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I did one of myself just because I hadn't done one in 2 years, and I looked a lot better than 2 years, thank God, 2 years ago. I also think one approach I always take when people come in, I'm not trying to sell them, because, big box gyms or like majority of trainers, they're trying to sell you. They're trying to be your best friend automatically. What I'm trying to do is make people feel comfortable. They understand why they're there. They know how much I charge before they walk in the door, and they're going to understand that by how calm I am explaining what I'm doing. Usually the first couple of times I try to walk people through what I'm doing. Oh, we're going to do this because this works on this, or or, oh, I saw when you were walking in, when your feet was a little bit angled out, which means we need to, correct a little bit of this imbalance here. It's kind of like explaining or voicing those subtleties. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't really know that. And asking good questions, also listening. I think one thing that personal trainers don't do a very good job of is listening. I think 99% of trainers, they come in and run you through the exact same workout. I don't know why, it just works, just does. Instead of listening, oh, you want to work on specifically this part and this part. Okay, cool. That's what we're going to do today. As opposed to, I'm going to run you through something that's really hard, but has nothing to do with what you told me you want to focus on.
Exactly. And that's very important. I think that's what develops truly the long-term clients. I mean, I have multiple businesses worth millions of dollars, and all of those businesses have been successful based upon relationships developed, and those people keep continuously coming back and bringing in more people because you listen to them. Like I have clients where they need a facelift, they need some big laser or something, but they'll never do that. It's just not something they want to do. They don't care. They can age gracefully. They just want to look a little bit better. Or I have people that have been on TV for 20 to 40 years and they can't look different. They have to look like they've aged.
Yeah.
And if you try and do a 10 or 20 year difference on them, they're going to lose their jobs because they look different.
Right.
So you have to really listen to people and understand, and really focus on what's important to them, not necessarily on what you want. And I think in my industry, what's really messing people up and having them look like aliens, like completely deformed and crazy, like especially the guys around here, I don't know what's going on, but they look way too feminine. It's insane. And so or their lips walk into the room before they do. It's crazy. It's too much. So with that said, that's because these doctors don't listen to people and they do what they think looks good, and they're used to treating a lot of females, so they're not doing that great. And then people over time, they think that's acceptable, and then that's not. So people that want to look natural or have hit a specific goal that you're focused on, maybe it's just functional. Like you could have older clients where they literally just can't stand up.
Right.
Or they need to walk a specific way or have enough energy and muscle tone to be able to do daily functional tasks.
Right.
Obviously, you don't have a lot of those clients because yours are probably better, more fit, and a little bit younger and look a specific way. But that you have to listen to those people. And like, is that what patients say about, like, what do your clients say about you that make them keep wanting to come back?
I think it's really, like you said, something I learned from, I did some reality TV shows back in college. I learned so much from the guy who managed me. His name's Sherman. I view him like a second dad. He taught me so much. And the biggest thing that I learned from him was that businesses are all relationship based. He's like, no matter if you do 100%. Your training stuff, you keep doing TV, you do your modeling stuff. He goes, it is all relationship based. Because I mean, just like a lot of other 21-year-old guys, like when I started training, I had such a huge ego. I was like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I didn't. The first dude I ever trained, I tried to train him like he was a college baseball player. The dude threw up in 10 minutes and left, and I never saw him ever again. That was the first person I ever trained. I was like, okay, obviously I have something to learn, so I have to drop the ego and figure it out. That's when I really just like over time, just from doing so many sessions or consultation, you learn like, you have to talk to people.
Yeah.
And I'm blessed enough. My dad was a minister for 22 years out in Burbank. And part of what his job was as a minister was, counseling people. So I grew up with a dad who was a very good listener. I watched and listened to him counsel other people. And I like to think I've picked up a lot of his mannerisms and traits. And,
communication is very important. And then, people's lives can change too. And since I've been a doctor for so long, I've seen patients for now over 15 years. I've seen like what can happen to people as they get older. So obviously I see the cosmetic changes in aging. You see functional changing, body changes. Yeah. People can lose hundreds of pounds in a very short period of time. It changes their entire body. And so you got to really listen to people and look at them and give them your best advice. And then hopefully those people will trust you enough, feel that you're, honest enough that you're going to guide them in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah. So is that what makes you a great trainer?
That I'm a good listener? I think it's...
What do you think makes you a great trainer?
I think it's just that I've stuck my nose in it for so long until I figured it out. I was stubborn enough to like I said, I think I'm a very compulsive person. Once I do something I like it, I'm going to do it a million times over. I hated training when I first started doing it. I wasn't good at it. I couldn't sell people. I got anxious when they showed up. I was honestly such an introvert.
Well, that's actually good to bring up because you're really dedicated and into it now.
Yeah.
And so there are tons of people that I know that literally don't work out. Like they'll come to me for lipo, they'll come to me for GLP-1 drugs, peptides, weight loss, everything will not work out. I have a client right now, she's doing 4 surgeries in the next 2 months because she has a condition that makes it very difficult for her to lose weight and will not exercise. And so explain to me, if people hate it that much, what could convince them to either go to you or go to somebody and get them into the gym?
Man, honestly, like...
Because what did it for you?
What did it for me to want to get in shape?
Yeah. What made you actually like working out?
I think it just made me feel better about myself. Like I said, when my baseball career was done, my mental was just done. Honestly, like where my parents and I had to move back in with my parents and sleep on the couch or the floor because they didn't have anywhere for me to stay. We lived at the base of the freeway. And I remember telling myself and my dad, I was like, if I can't figure it out, I'm just going to go run and jump up there. Or I was like, if I can't feel better about myself, like I'm just going to go play leapfrog on the freeway. And really, honestly,
I mean, there are a lot of people that have a lot of depression, anxiety, and stress. That's a whole nother thing. Honestly, I'll talk to you guys about. I don't understand the number of people being prescribed antidepressants and other drugs for anxiety. Even my sister's kids at like 8 to 10, they're on drugs for anxiety and depression.
That's insane.
I'm like, but think about it 20 or 30 years ago. I know doctors will say it was just not diagnosed, but I'm telling you, people have so much anxiety, depression, and this and that because they're taught, I'm telling you, by online that everything should be easy. That life should just be so easy, that you just make money with these online Instagram stores and posting things on TikTok and Snapchat. But that's not true. Obviously, look at what you had to do to really succeed. It was to get your ass off the floor and be like, you know what, I'm going to start working out and build self-confidence. And then you did.
That's where it started.
And then you created a business.
Yeah.
And look where you are.
Yeah.
And you could have some anxiety and depression now. Actually, you're probably going to have more anxiety now than you did before because you're taking a risk financially.
Oh, trust me, I'm there. Like, even coming into thinking about this, I was like, oh, what am I going to talk about? How successful I am now? I was like, no, I wouldn't even. Yes, I'm successful, and yes, I have a success story, but I'm right in the middle of my story. Like,
That's why I wanted you here, because I don't need the millionaire billionaires to talk to. They're great, and I probably will get some of those people. Grant Cardone, I'm going to talk to you soon. Don't worry, and some other very successful people like Gary Vee and stuff like that. We're gonna go to them. Those people, obviously, they have Garmozy. You're next. And Layla, you guys are on. But I'm telling you, I watch all of them. I know what they've done. They're inspiring people like you or I to really, achieve certain things.
Yeah.
And what I want people to see is that there are still a lot of people that do want to work hard to become successul.
Right.
And I'm seeing it. And like, for example, the guys that I've invested in for these car shops that we have and this wrap, when they came to me, they're successful, but they had like a very detailed business plan in their ages, like 22 to 27. And so, how does a 22 to 27-year-old have a business plan asking someone for $1 million to invest in a business?
Yeah.
Right. And all my financial team was like, do not give them the money. It could fail. I was like, I understand. But when you see people with passion, you see like, these are the type of people that they will never let it fail, because they will do anything it takes. Even the fact that they were like, even if I were to lose it, you will get paid back. Like, that was what it was. I was like, if I'm taking the risk, it's the risk. But I could just tell that those people were going to be very successful, and they are. And so, like, that's the type of thing that I saw in you with the type of training you do, the stuff that you post online, the clients that you have. You're really on that, like, at a breaking point where all of a sudden the rocket ship is going to go up.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping to see, So my question is, like, you've built now this level of success, and then now for yourself personally, you got to that point. Now, why take the risk and investment in owning a gym?
Yeah, so really, I mean, personal training's been great over the last 7 years, but it's one of those things where it gets to a point and it's kind of like, okay, what's my next step? Do I just keep expending more and more and more hours and more of my time and more of my life? Or it's like, I still want to keep doing that. I still want to keep working that amount of hours, but it's like, how can I diversify? Because like at a certain point, like there's only 24 hours in a day. So it's like, there is a ceiling, there is a capacity to my in-person physical business. So it's like, how do I scale from there? Originally, the plan was to open a Selfmade in Santa Monica. Unfortunately, with the guy I spoke about, who might have been my business partner, unfortunately, Miguel, our CEO, passed away.
It's terrible.
During that time, a similar offer was presented to me to partner and be a co-owner at Hollywood. So I was already preparing my financials to take probably an even bigger investment with someone else when I was presented the opportunity to come in with Chris. It was really just about, pushing myself. I don't know what it looks like on the outside. Or
Have you ever invested your own money in anything?
I have nothing on this scale before. I've invested more myself for business coaches, education, a nicer apartment building, because I used to train people out of my apartment building when I was in Beverly Hills until they threatened to evict me because I was bringing too many people. My first Porsche, my second Porsche, every single time I did one of those things, invest in myself, I was scared. I was scared. Like,
but that makes you more successful, I think.
Absolutely.
Because if you're scared, it pushes you. I mean, in some people, they could either completely fall or significantly succeed. Actually, one of the best quotes, and I don't know if exactly it's said this way, but they say, when you're doing good, you should be investing more.
Absolutely.
In your risk, because then it's going to push you to be way more successful. Absolutely. When you're doing great, that's when it's kind of like you can let it work on its own. But it's when you're doing good that you should actually be putting in more risk.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's what you're doing now.
Yeah. And like when I interview some of these trainers to come partner and work at my gym and tell me how scared they are, and like honestly, and I keep it to myself, but I'm like, I'm scared. I just made by far the biggest investment of my life. And like, I grew up poor. I know what it's like. I remember there was one day when I was in college, I had $40 in my bank account, and I said, this sucks. I'm never going to do this ever again in my life. I was eating oatmeal twice a day. And my game in my head was, how can I go throughout my day and spend $0? Fast forward, what is it? 5-6 years later, I'm playing that exact same game based off of, and I knew it was going to be a big risk. And I knew in my head in the last year and a half, I was like, there's going to be a point where I'm going to feel poor again. I'm going to take 10 steps back to take 100 steps forward. This is the biggest one. Honestly, I went straight back to not that poor, not that deficit mentality, but like.
Well, Elon and Bill Gates have a lot of quotes if you guys read everything that they've written and talk about. And they say if you're not prepared to sleep on the floor, to not eat, to have to pay everybody else before you, then you're not prepared to be successful. Because most people, it's just not handed to them. So for 8 years before I started doing any investments or spending any money on myself, I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Beverly Hills, which is actually very, very inexpensive because all Beverly Hills is not rich, just so you guys know. And I had no furniture. I had a couch that I had since my first year of college, and a TV and a dresser that had a nightstand that had my TV on it, and all my clothes were on the floor. I had piles of t-shirts, jeans, all the way around my entire apartment. No one ever came to my apartment. I didn't do any partying or eating out or anything like that or spending a lot of money because I wanted to keep reinvesting in myself and to build. And I feel like, that's kind of why I want people to see this story for you, because hopefully then other younger ones or even successful ones will be like, you know what? I want to go work at a place where the owner's doing that.
Yeah.
Because if they see you putting in that level of passion, discipline, and they're willing to do that maybe for themselves. Because how many trainers are out there working for other people and just not getting the level of financial success that they should be?
Yeah, way too many. I think that's what the statistic is. 90% of personal trainers quit within their first 10 or 11 months of doing it. And probably in their first 10 or 11 months, they're not working for themselves. They're working for a corporate gym and getting paid. I interviewed a trainer last week. They're getting paid like less than minimum wage. And I was like, hey, this job is physical. Like, you have to walk around and talk a lot. You're not sitting behind a desk or ordering French fries for somebody, which is absolutely insane. I think people don't understand how much money they can be making. And it's like, yes, with a bigger reward comes a bigger risk, but without the risk, there's no reward.
Well, that's the thing. So, and again, at this day and age where social shows it really easy, it goes to show, the level of dedication and hard work that it actually takes to become successful. Now, everyone can measure success in different ways. It's not always about money. Sometimes it's about freedom with your time. Sometimes it's about just having the clientele that they want to be talking to every day, because some industries are way more difficult than others with customer service. Yeah. Sometimes it's just having a very good culture in the environment that they're working, and they just enjoy going to work then every day. And some it's financial success. That's what they want. Yeah. How do you define success for yourself?
For myself, I think the definition of success has changed and developed as I have. I think when I first started training, happiness looked like money. Because I was like, I know what it's, like I said, I grew up poor. I understand the metrics of it. I understand what it,
allows you to do.
Yeah, and what it also withholds you from doing. And from that point, I understood that like money can equal power, it can equal influence. And I didn't have that, and I wanted to understand what that was like. And then once I started making my first 6 figures, my first multiple 6 figures, I realized I was like, hey, this doesn't make you happy. Like, I just want to be happy. My financial success and comfortability and, my own safety now and the safety of my future family, have a lot of that relies on money. So yeah, I'd say that applies into my
money is good to do different things. It allows you to do things. What I've done with it is allowed me to invest in people that I think will be really successful, and give to people that you want to be able to give to. Like, it sounds like you'd want to give to your family. Absolutely. And if you can, and stuff like that. Like, I have a couple friends now that I've sort of guided, and in their first year, basically going from nothing to becoming more successful, the first things that they actually did was use the money when I told them not to actually save it, but they used it to buy things for their family or for other people that never were able to have things before.
Yeah.
So that goes to show what type of people they are, because they're using that money not to show off, not to, buy all these things for themselves. They're doing it to help others, which is really unique, because some people, they want the money for themselves.
Right.
And so I think if money isn't as important to you, then there's other things like building this career where you could see other trainers become popular and successful at the same time, or seeing maybe the gym being built to a different caliber or a different level, bringing in different clients and stuff like that, which is what my dream is actually for you, which I'll talk to you about separately. But what I did want to ask you was, we didn't actually talk to you about the gym.
Yeah.
What is it called? So you could tell people how do they find out about it, and then how did you get into working there?
Yeah, so the gym is part of the Selfmade Training Facility franchise, and we're the Hollywood location. We are square footage wise and brand wise the biggest of the franchise. I believe there's over 40 locations now. I started working there. I originally met Chris when I wanted to do a photo shoot for like an online program that I created it and flopped on 3 or 4 years ago. And then it got to the point where, like I had mentioned earlier, I was training people out of my apartment gym in Beverly Hills. It got to the point where I was bringing so many non-residents into the gym where other residents,
they were like, you can't be there anymore.
They were filing complaints against me. And then,
I had friends like that over COVID. They built gyms at these places and they said it was okay. And then it became like a party, an actual gym. And they were like, you need to get out of here.
Yeah, I got 3 eviction notices on my door from
the renter, from the building, or from the sheriffs or the police. Because I had friends from the police.
From the building itself, I think. And,
okay.
I went in, I was like, you know what, like technically I can do anything I want. So I walked into the leasing office. I said, hey, you know what, if you don't take this off, I'm going to contact a lawyer. And they're like, we're going to evict you tomorrow just based off of like how the number of residential complaints we have against you. And I said, no problem. I love living here. I'll find somewhere else to work. I remembered I had met Chris all those years ago. I drove to him. He ran me through and I said, I don't care how much it costs.
Start tomorrow.
Please sign me up. I said, can I start tomorrow? He said, yes. I said, can I start in 30 minutes? And he goes, yes. And
awesome.
That's kind of, how I ended up there.
That's great. And just so you guys know, Selfmade, from my opinion, based on outside perspective, is kind of like a gym that's trying to help other trainers become successful.
Right.
Kind of giving them the ability to have a space where they can bring in their own clients and develop their own brand.
Yeah, definitely. So the main focus of the Selfmade franchise is to help people become self-made. That doesn't mean doing something absolutely by yourself or like the lone wolf mentality. Just by being around an environment of other people who want to build themselves up and better themselves as well. Like I said, when I joined, I had no idea what the brand was about, what the gyms were about, or Miguel's story, which is incredibly inspirational and still to this day, it inspires a lot of what I'm doing now and how much I want to make him proud. But I lost my train of thought totally.
No, it was Selfmade and
what it
like,
is.
Yeah, what it is, and like why people would want to go to trainers there, because they're unique in how the gym functions.
Yeah. So how Selfmade works, it's an investment for trainers to be there. It's not like they're hired on. We don't pay our trainers. Really, what we do on our end, we do our best to give the biggest availability of resources for trainers to grow and scale their businesses. And now I have the chance to be like, hey, I came in, I was an independent trainer and I partnered with Selfmade, and now I'm an owner here and I'm helping other people recreate the same success that I had from being here, from the facility that we have, the marketing teams that we have, how we help business coach other people. Now I'm in the position where I'm the primary contact for business coaching for other trainers, because I've been, fortunate enough and blessed enough to be able to grow a multiple 6-figure business 3 or 4 years in a row now.
So where do you see, Selfmade going, at least in the Hollywood location, now that you're sort of involved? You're now one of the business owners.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting experience, not like Chris, who came into it, built it from the ground up and established it from there. It's interesting because I'm a new business owner. I'm in the process of, I'm kind of like taking notes from him or asking for his advice. Like, how did it feel when you were doing this? Because kind of in a similar way, I'm approaching it from the same. I was like, I'm investing everything I've saved up for the last couple of years and all of the comfortability that I had, almost down to like almost no liquidity. So I was like, dude, how did you deal with this? How did you combat it? Like the emotional side. And it's like 3, like what are our tangible steps moving forward? Because there's been a lot of transitions with the gym coming into January. Of course, like a lot of people have moved, or some trainers or some people have started new gyms in the close by area. So we're experiencing a lot of these kind of, issues that we have to overcome. And it's like, okay, we're trying to create a new culture. We're introducing a lot of new people into the gym. I think the biggest things we're working on is continuing to create the culture of gym that Miguel would have wanted, and that Miguel's built over the past, I don't even know how many years without him, which has been extremely challenging. And it's been hard, even like myself. Like I've found myself a lot of times like almost wanting to go like text him or reach out or call him, because that's what I'd always do when I didn't know what to do, or like throughout this like franchisee process. So really just trying to do the best we can with the puzzle pieces that we have to continue what he's wanting to build. I want to take another step forward personally myself in presenting more business coaching for younger trainers trying to do, what I've done, or create that in their own sort of way.
And then you're still building yourself up.
Yes.
What do you do for success for yourself right now?
So like, what am I doing?
Like, how do you get clients? Like, what do you do to promote yourself, to get people to come to you?
Right. So in terms of my own personal training business, the biggest thing that I've been working on has been I'm launching an AI integrated training app that'll come out. I pushed it a little bit more because of the LA fires, and there's a certain amount of marketing I have to do before I launch that. That's been another big investment that I've made at the same time as buying into the gym. But I know it's going to multiply and pay off tenfold in the long run, or even short term. That's been a major focus of mine, a lot of time, a lot of energy. In terms of my own marketing for my own social media, I've really focused on pushing the gym instead of pushing my own personal training business. That's been really great.
Well, if you're already built, so now, but then how are you promoting to get new trainers?
So I've been working with to get new trainers. We've been in meetings, myself with my business partner and our content creators, about what's our next new approach. And I believe that's displaying the success of some of the trainers that we have at our gym. Not only, I don't want to, I want to be the guy who's like, oh, look at me, but it's like, how can I promote the success that I've had within?
Well, with every great brand, I don't know if you know this, but most brands start with their founder being the face. And as success goes on, that disappears. So if you look at a lot of main businesses, like whoever created it was the main person that was on all of the content, all the marketing, website, everything. And then as the businesses grew, that person came off and it was whatever name, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like now if you're starting kind of fresh, having you as the face, promoting yourself and what you've done actually creates a blueprint for people to see. Right. And then you could start integrating all these other trainers, and eventually you can fall off,
right,
and the entire team can be seen, as part of it. So I think that's a really good idea,
I think it is, yeah.
I think that works. I think it's actually really good.
Yeah.
So what would you say, like, to finish it up a little bit, what would you say, to younger sort of entrepreneurs, maybe not necessarily in fitness, but they think they have, a passion for something. And like you were saying, you literally were at rock bottom, not necessarily rock bottom, but you had nothing because you felt like the sports was over and you didn't know what you could do.
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody to actually keep them inspired or motivated to do something to turn their life around?
I once again, last time pulling into my like compulsive behavior, I've always done something or not. I've always done something zero, like not at all, or I've done it and I've done it as much as I can, as often as I can. I've always grown to love it. I'll tell people, like, if you're interested in something, if something's interesting to you, do it. Like, go all in, do as much as you can. Me, in my head, I've always had the mindset, I'm like, I'm willing to absolutely fail for this. I'm willing to go into the red for this, or like die on the table, like trying to make this work, is what people don't understand. I'm like, I will do this until I collapse and fall over. They can't revive me.
I think that's the difference between a real entrepreneur or not. They're willing to fail and use the learnings from that failure to become more successful. I mean,
absolutely.
If you look at, there's another quote, I was bringing up these quotes because literally it's all I post about on my Instagram, you guys know, is there's a quote where it says, the millionaire had to lose millions to become a millionaire. The billionaire had to lose billions to become a billionaire.
Absolutely.
And so that's the thing, is like, maybe it's not always the money, but it may be the time. There's so many other things that affect people. If you look at Hermosi, for example, he had like, I think 9 businesses. Oh no, sorry, was it him or the Gymshark guy? I can't remember. Both of them had multiple businesses before that had failed.
I mean, that was Hermosi. I think it was like his 9th one.
Yeah, like 9 businesses. Maybe it was the 9th one that won or something. But I follow too many entrepreneurs, so I can't remember who's who anymore. But they had multiple businesses that failed. I've had. My manager laughs because my website that's going to be out like in 2 weeks, it's pretty freaking amazing, has probably cost millions. If you actually look at the number of websites that I've created beforehand that cost a lot that we never went through with because it wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And so there's so many things that you have to go, there's so many times that you're either going to struggle or it's not going to work out exactly how you wanted, or maybe completely fail, or people are going to say things about your reputation gets damaged for a short period of time. But that allows you to either truly just give up and not succeed, or turn it around and become way more successful.
Absolutely. Like, pointing at that, like I talked about online training, the app I'm launching next month. This is my 5th time around at trying online training. They're like, oh, how do you know this is the one?
Did the other ones do well or no?
No, I failed every single time.
How much did that cost?
With this,
Estimate.
$30,000-$40,000.
There you go. So that's a person's salary, you guys, right there, on just one idea that he had. So imagine if you actually have money like Elon Musk or something, who comes up with an idea that costs billions every time it fails.
Yeah.
So like, you're at a scale where you can sort of turn it around or restart, that it's only a little bit of money. I know it seems like it's a lot, but in the long term, it's not,
Yeah.
And so maybe this is the one that will hit.
Yeah. If it's not, like, ask me in a year, maybe I'm on try 7, 8, or 9, or maybe number 6 stuck. It doesn't matter. The point is, like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to make it work. And because I've learned something every single time that I've failed. I'm not
that's
just
the key.
Taking it as an L and just like laid over backwards about it. Like,
that's the key. You'll take something and learn from it. It may not be that specific thing that you use that learning, but that learning will kind of transfer over into everything else that you're doing to make you more successful.
Yeah. You can't quit if you don't lose. Like, if you try so many times and you're such a jackass about it and you refuse to leave the table until you figure it out, like, you're going to figure it out at some point. Like, volume will be trying and being so specific and strategic every single time. If you just try a million different things and you're not even very intelligent, but semi-conscious of what you're doing the whole time, like, you're going to figure it out. Just be that jackass who doesn't lose because he doesn't quit.
Yeah, I mean, there's other quotes where they're like, it's like every step is a step forward, unless you make it, unless you fall and make it a step back. So obviously with step back, you either get up and keep moving, or every step you keep going little by little and make you more successful. The most successful people actually take much smaller risks, smaller steps, and then in the end, after the length of time, they get to where they want to go. I will tell you, some of the people that I look up to, that I listen to the most, they always say, don't take too much of a risk, focus on one thing, make it successful, then go on to the next.
Right.
And I think that's what you've done. Basically, you've, built the training became, much bigger training. Now bringing in the investment in the gym, bringing in the other trainers, you do it little by little.
Yeah.
And it'll make you more successful. So I think that's great. Is there anything else that you want to say, being that young entrepreneur in the fitness industry, that's like, really pushing it hard, hustling, working out, keep your body and your mind focused. Is there anything you want to say or no?
Not really. Just don't quit. Like, you have to leave your ego at the door, which is hard for young men. I'm also sure for a lot of young women as well, but leave your ego at the door and just don't quit. Be the first person who shows up and be the last person who leaves at night, and you'll be fine.
That's great. And then in 2025, last question, 2025, what should we expect to see from you? After the fires have been cleared and everything is in a better place.
Black and whites. Honestly, at the end of this year, if I'm in a position where I've helped a lot of people that I've trained, or a lot of trainers trying to build themselves up, the amount of people that I help this year is how I'm going to measure my success.
Great.
Of course I care about paying my bills and everything, but that is what's most important to me. And I know myself and I know how I operate. And if I've been able to do those things, then I've been able to do pretty well for myself.
Great. I love that. So David Barta, you guys look out for him. It's going to be great. This podcast has been amazing. We're finishing off today, and you guys will see more, because the next thing I'm going to do with him is a collaborative workout in the gym. Don't worry, we will be shirtless. No, I'm kidding. It's going to be a great workout, and we're also going to do it live. So stay tuned to see that.